what is the point? Just these guys played last year. And then when you don't, why is Jake Retzlaff not in contention here? But Carson Beck was number one on people's lists last year and was so bad that he had to leave. But he's one of the top 10 returning quarterbacks and his arm fell off. Congrats on your list. Give me Jake Retzlaff, who had BYU in the playoff conversation all year last year. This is a joke. This makes me mad. I'm officially mad. You weren't mad. I'm mad.
No, I'm not. I'm not mad because like yeah, no, it is. It definitely is. I wouldn't disagree with that. The thing, I would say I'm more puzzled than anything else that Avery Johnson doesn't get a sniff, right? That Jalen Daniels doesn't appear to get a sniff. I don't know. Like, I would probably have Avery Johnson on my top 10 returning quarterbacks in college football because you have clearly some people who made these lists like baked projection into the conversation, right? Like the body of work for DJ Lagway and Arch Manning is incredibly small, but that was good. Like I'm sitting here telling you I don't think DJ Lagway and Arch Manning are good, but if you're willing to project a little bit, then I don't know how like a second year starting Avery Johnson, or if you say to yourself, boy, if you can bottle up what Jalen Daniels was in the second half of last season, like watch out because those guys can be really something this year. And I said this to you, like not on the show. I said it to you yesterday as we were planning the show. If either Avery Johnson or Jalen Daniels like transferred to Tennessee, people would flip out. They would think, what a get for the Vols. But by the way, they're not among our top 10 returning quarterbacks this year because they're not currently playing for a Southern program.
Lenora Sellers is the Avery Johnson of the South. And Lenora Sellers is fifth on this list. What is the difference between Lenora Sellers and Avery Johnson? They were both young first-year starters last year with great potential, who certainly at times played fantastic football, but also have some things they need to clean up. And they both had their teams at the edge of the playoff race the entire season. So Lenora Sellers is the fifth best returning quarterback in the country, and Avery Johnson doesn't get mentioned by anybody. This is why we're here. Because this is your sport on the national level. This is how people view things. And so we're not calling out players for not being good. We're calling out the view of this sport, and we're going to get into the NFL draft next week. Wait till you see what's going to happen in the NFL draft. And by the way, did we notice who won the last two national championships? We did. It does. This is about as aggravated as I've been in a long time, Bill, about this kind. Well, it's been in a long time. I mean, as aggravated as I've been since every week of the 2024 college football season. So this is as aggravated as I've been in 5 months because it is exciting. John Mateer transferring from Washington State to Oklahoma is exciting. And Carson Beck going from Georgia to Miami is interesting. And Sam Leavitt had a really good year for Arizona State last year, right? But there's just a general disrespect that permeates discussions like this. And then the other thing is this list evaporates the moment the season starts, because then we know who the starting quarterbacks are, and there just happened to be last year at the biggest programs in the North, Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, Will Howard at Ohio State, Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, a lot of programs, Max Brosmer at Minnesota, a lot of programs like that had established guys in the transfer portal that they were leaning on. So now most of those schools, because they had those guys and they left, are now leaning on young, talented guys who haven't played. But if that leads to a perception nationally this summer that the North doesn't have any quarterbacks, that is what makes me invite me on your show and let me tell you how you're wrong. That makes me want to stand up and scream from the mountaintop that that's not true. And that's why I think these summertime off-season discussions are currently giving an incorrect picture that we are going to shatter right now.
It does help. Yeah, no, I think so. But I especially with this position, like it frames how people view the sport going into the year, right? Like I think like the EP poll will be reflective of some of this, and at least the people who are doing the college football playoff rankings coming into the season, I think will probably lean this way because of the way that these quarterbacks and teams are talked about, and the North does kind of get short shrift because of that. Now, like Julian Sain and Bryce Underwood and Damon Williams, like all these guys got to go out there and prove it. We're not saying like crown them because we think they're going to be good, but it does become a little irritating at times that the narrative of the sport gets shaped this way in the offseason when I'm not actually, at least you and I think believe that it won't be reflected in at the end of the season when we see some of these quarterbacks in the North actually start playing.
Yeah. Cade Klubnik, good. I'm good on Cade Klubnik, and I'm excited.
I don't think anybody on this list is bad. Like maybe Carson Beck. I mean, I might think Carson Beck's bad, but besides him, I like all these quarterbacks on this list. It's a little odd to me that this is the list.
Oh yeah. You know who would put Carson Beck 9th on this list? Kirby Smart. It's like, let me tell you about. Do you want to do your list right now? You have this EPA per play that we got to get this guy on the show. What's his name?
Yeah, so the account is at Tej FB Analytics on Twitter. And then he just happened to put this out yesterday as Doug and I were discussing this. So he put out the EPA per play last year.
Great follow. I followed this guy forever. Really good.
Yeah, so it's EPA per play for quarterbacks against Power 4 defenses last year. So what I did, I just took out all the guys who were coming back this year. Number 1 was Sawyer Robertson at Baylor, who did appear on some of these lists, but not enough for me to put him in the consensus. But like if I was making a list, I would probably have him in there. Drew Aller was 2nd. Haynes King was 3rd. So like you threw some shade to Haynes King. Like Haynes King, when he was healthy, he played well for Georgia Tech. Here's where the swords come out. Jalen Daniels was 4th. DeMond Williams Jr. is 5th. Smaller sample size, but he's 5th. Sam Levitt
Washington.
Is 6th. From Washington. Yeah. Sam Levitt is 6th. Rocco Beck at Iowa State is 7th. Kevin Jennings at SMU is 8th. Weird one. Surprised to see it. Grayson James at Boston College was 9th. Again, another small sample size. He was not the full-time starter for BC last year, but he finished 9th in this metric. And then 10th was Fernando Mendoza, the transfer from Cal to Indiana. For the sake of our conversation, Avery Johnson was 12th.
Oh, Fernando Mendoza. I mean, he's no John Mateer. We certainly couldn't put Fernando Mendoza, who played at Cal last year and is transferring to a playoff team, as opposed to someone playing at Washington State and transferring to a tire fire of a program that is desperately trying to save Brent Venable's job and hired their of course we would, and just because Devin Dampier and John Mateer, they don't just rhyme. They're the same guy with the same situation. John Mateer is following his offensive coordinator from Washington State to Oklahoma. Devin Dampier is following his offensive coordinator from New Mexico to Utah. They are both going to save programs whose quarterback situations exploded last year, but are proud programs who have had much success in the past, even though, for instance, I don't know, you could just say that Oklahoma's head coach is completely unproven as a head coach, whereas Utah's head coach is a 20-year winner. But of course, we wouldn't put Devin Dampier on this list. We'd put John Mateer on this list because Oklahoma's more famous and he wears more eye black. So that's cool. So congrats on your list, even though the Northern guy, who is the exact equivalent of the Southern guy and better in most instances, Avery Johnson, Lenore Sellers, Devin Dampier, John Mateer, ignore the Northern guy. Okay. Here's the other thing. There is more certainty in the South in terms of returning established guys, which is influencing this list. But I think you're making very good points about it's influencing the discussion around college football writ large right now.